Do 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 do.
I was going to say the big story around the world, or certainly in Britain and Australia at the moment, is Princess Anne and Mark Phillips. Even the quality newspapers of Britain are talking divorce, and waiting for us in our Sydney studio is our court correspondent for the Palace in Australia, Colin Stanley Hill. Hello, Colin.
Hi, how are you, Bert?
Fine, thank you.
I just hope you haven't written any letters to Delilah.
Sorry?
I just hope you haven't written any letters to Delilah.
No, I haven't, as yet I haven't written any. Although, I tell you, you're looking rather nice too, Colin, with a new bouffant hairstyle. That's rather attractive.
Oh, you and your blue eyes.
What's the true story, not about the hairstyle, about Princess Anne and Mark Phillips?
I'll take it off and throw it at you. It's a typical Fleet Street beat-up. The marriage is as solid as it's ever been. They celebrated their 15th wedding anniversary last November, and I think anyone, particularly those who were at the Royal Easter Show last year here in Sydney, where Captain Mark Phillips and the Princess Anne were together, will agree that it's a rock-solid marriage, and they are unusually suited, both in temperament and in outlook.
So you're saying no divorce and no problems?
Well, it all depends what you mean by problems, because, you see, they enjoy what is known in the British aristocracy and indeed within the royal family as an open marriage. In other words, they're very happy, they're very content with their domestic life together at Gatcombe Park. They have so much in common, the farm, the children, everything like that. But they do, I think, enjoy an unspoken agreement that while they're apart, they do from time to time pursue their separate romantic interests. Now, with Captain Mark Phillips, of course, it's been a whole long list of dolly birds, you know, public relations ladies, journalists, sort of one-night stands, I suppose. With Princess Anne, she seems to be, as a lot of ladies who aren't extraordinarily beautiful are, she seems to be attracted by gentlemen who are more noted for their beauty. For example, the very famous television actor Anthony Andrews of Brideshead Revisited fame. He was what's known as a royal favourite for many years. In fact, he and his wife Georgina, who's the heiress to the Simpson tailoring empire, they in fact went as far as to buy a farm immediately adjoining Gatcombe Park. But it's as long as it's discreet, then everything in the palace is fine, until the dreadful occasion, of course, that we've had where letters have been stolen and the whole thing becomes a front-page circus around the world.
Colin, I'm told that you almost got yourself into the same sort of problems with Princess Michael.
Oh, yes, in 85. Yes, well, the thing is that...
It took a while to remember that, Colin, considering that just before the show you said, don't forget, mention the Princess Michael thing.
To hell I did. I spent... I'll have to be careful what I tell your researcher. No, I was just explaining that because, you see, within Buckingham Palace, it's very, very difficult for members of the royal family to make true friends outside the palace railings. In other words, people they can really trust. And therefore, members of the household, people who, in the palace parlance, are in the presence, they become very much family with the royal family. You're all called by your Christian names, and even like with the Queen Mother who you mentioned in your intro, she's Crown Queen of England, she's ex-Empress of India, but instead of calling her Mom, you call her Mom Darling. And I hasten to bring another scandal into this, but I think one of the reasons you hear so many rumours about every person at the palace being gay, which incidentally is another load of rubbish, is because English upper-class gentlemen, for some reason, are very affectionate in the way they speak to each other. They call each other my dear. And that's amusing to people in Australia where we say mate. But then even in England, to call someone mate is considered amusing. It's just the way it's done. And this spills over into the letters.
And what happened with Princess Michael of Kent and you?
Well, nothing, unfortunately. I've got a sort of face that only a mother could love, and I think even she's got her reservations. It was just that I spent 6 months with her making that documentary, which incidentally was shown on this network, on the Channel 7 network. And I became ill and went into hospital, and she came and saw me, and then, of course, as we all know, she went into the hospital. I went to see her, and everything to do with the royal household is done by letter. In other words, if someone telephones you, then you reply to that telephone call with a letter confirming what was said, and they send a letter back to you confirming receipt of your letter.
So what happened, Colin? Tell us.
You won't be put off, will you? Well, it was just that I came back on the one and only time that I've ever flown United Airlines, hopefully the last time, and among all the other things that happened, my luggage went missing for 3 days, and included in that luggage was was quite a large number of letters from Princess Michael of Kent in which affectionate terms were used, and also copies of my letters to her. So I did the only thing which I could do, which was to telephone Michael Shea, the then press secretary to the Queen, and he said, my God, that's all we need, you know, having got away with the SS affair and that, but thank God, and credit at least to United Airlines, they did find my suitcase and it was returned to me and the letters are intact. But you see, this is really this matter in a nutshell, because Commander Lawrence, he is a query to the Queen. No one works hard, well, Princess Anne works harder probably than any other member of the royal family except the Queen, and she hasn't got time to go to the Queen's office. The Queen hasn't got time to go to Princess Anne's office. Therefore, the person who goes between the two is the equerry to the Queen, who happens to be Commander Lawrence.
So they have to have a natural association, you're saying?
Yeah, well, they have to have a business-like association, and therefore they will exchange letters in exactly the same way as I exchanged letters with Princess Michael of Kent, and these letters would be phrased in the affectionate terminology that is in fact quite prevalent within the palace. Now, here's the last thing. The Sun newspaper returned these letters, and it's so unusual because Koo Stark sued the Sun newspaper for almost £1 million. Elton John sued the Sun newspaper for over £1 million. And the Queen herself sued the Sun newspaper just very recently for £200,000 because they had printed a stolen photograph of the Queen and the Queen Mother and the Duchess of York with Princess Bee.
Are you suggesting, yes or no, this time around there could be another involvement?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that if there had been anything in those letters, then the Sun of all newspapers would have printed them. Instead of that, they returned them, and they're now tickling our imagination by saying they were very intimate letters. My advice, straight from the palace, is that they were nothing more than ordinary letters between a member of the household to a member of the royal family, couched in our unusual affectionate terms.
Understood.
And the major problem is that someone has broken into Princess Anne's office, into her private luggage, and removed letters and given them to the press. This is totally unforgivable.
Quite a valid explanation. Thank you, darling, for your time today.
I'll tell Paddy about you.
Colin Stanley Hill.